Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever this may find you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mick Kinley and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Australian Maritime Safety Authority, Australia's national agency responsible for ship safety, protection of the marine environment and marine and aviation search and rescue. It's my pleasure to speak today at the second Maritime SheEO Conference here in 2021. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land from which I am speaking to you today, which is the Ngunnawal people, and pay my respect to their elders past and present. It's wonderful to see an amazing list of leaders and change makers on today's program from the maritime community, non-government organisations, public and private sector, working together to improve gender equality in maritime and move beyond a male-dominated industry. Today, I'd like to discuss the progress that's been made on the path to gender equality in the maritime sector, challenges that remain, and some practical initiatives to reduce institutional barriers facing women and gender diverse people who enter the maritime industry. Now, I've been in the maritime industry for close to 4 decades now, and there have been improvements in increasing women and gender diverse people's participation, but we can do better and we should do better. Many companies and organisations recognise the importance of gender diversity and equality in the workplace. Numerous studies show that increasing the number of women, including gender diverse people within business and particularly within senior leadership positions, result in a significant improvement in business outcomes. I could talk about how increasing gender diversity within organisations is the right thing to do in terms of social justice. I could talk about how it's good for business and the smart thing to do in terms of productivity, profit and performance. And I could talk about how it's in everybody's interest to have a safe and accessible workplace. And while all these points are true, the support for gender equality should be simply because women's participation is essential. Women are significantly underrepresented at all levels, and it's well known that the maritime sector is facing a shortage of workers. Although more women are entering the workforce, the maritime industry remains a male-dominated environment where women represent just 1.2% of the seafarer workforce worldwide. And while this is actually an improvement of nearly 50% on the 2015 figures, it's hard to imagine a profession that has a greater gender imbalance. It's a fact that many mariners are approaching retirement, which means huge skill shortages in the future. And we've also seen the shipping industry, and we're continuing to see the shipping industry struggle with crewing shortfalls during the pandemic. The industry's identified a significant shortage of maritime personnel, and without greater efforts to recruit and retain seafarers, the shipping industry will face a serious labour shortfall as soon as 2025. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to see autonomous ships with no people on board taking over by then. There's an increasing pressure on the global network to identify new opportunities to support and sustain economic growth of the industry. So in such a contracting environment, investing in good and accessible business practices for all can create a broader and more competitive labour market for industry. And it makes sense, therefore, to cast the net as wide as possible to attract the future generations of seafarers. If we can encourage women to apply for, stay and lead the industry, we just have a much bigger pool of talent to reduce the skill shortage. So half our population roughly is women, and there's no reason why a ship's crew, a maritime regulator or a shoreside maritime business shouldn't reflect that. And I recognise that there's been many actions to achieve change in this male-dominated world. In 2019, the International Maritime Organisation, which I think we all know is the specialised UN agency responsible for maritime standards, adopted a resolution to achieve a barrier-free environment for women so that all women can participate fully, safely and without hindrance in the maritime community. 2019 also saw the theme of empowering women in the maritime community for IMO's World Maritime Day, and I was honoured to host the Secretary General of the IMO himself to Australia to celebrate that day. Further efforts to achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals, especially Goal 5, to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, This year, the IMO has agreed to establish an International Day for Women in Maritime to be observed on 18th of May, and we're really hoping that the IMO Assembly will formalise that later this year. This annual Observance Day will celebrate the vital contributions made by women to the maritime community and hopefully inspire the next generation of women mariners. As Mariam Wright Edelman said, you can't be what you can't see. And that's a message for all of us. I'd like to acknowledge, though, the tremendous work of PACWEMA, the Pacific Women in Maritime Association, and Papua New Guinea for developing and championing initiative. And I'd also like to highlight the unanimous support so far that we've had from IMO member states. There is a thirst for change and a genuine enthusiasm to achieve gender equality. The IMO also supports women's fellowships and scholarships at maritime education establishments such as the World Maritime University and the International Maritime Law Institute. And while we celebrate, though, the achievements that have been made so far, it's important that these initiatives amount to something more than recognition and aspiration for change. We've also got to create proactive and practical measures which incorporate gender equality into organisational policies and procedures. And as we turn our minds to these issues and look at ways to encourage more people to consider a career in the maritime industry, we must ensure that women are front and centre of those plans or they will fail. Although the benefits of women's participation in the workforce are well known, we must increase the visibility of role models of women and gender diverse persons succeeding within the maritime industry. We must ensure that they're not only represented, but we also must take steps to empower these underrepresented cohorts and enable them to be seen as leaders in this field. The maritime sector has great female role models, and we should do more to identify and celebrate these women. The 2017 Global Gender Pay Gap report by the World Economic Forum highlighted that in both the private and public sector, women do not account for equal representation of senior level positions, with only 22% of senior managerial positions globally being held by women. Organisational leaders, such as myself, must be accountable by demonstrating meaningful commitment from the top, and if we're going to make progress towards enabling the advancement of women. We need to make visible the invaluable work of women and gender diverse peoples in this industry and publicise the vast opportunities that a maritime career has to offer. The IMO has launched multiple initiatives to make the maritime industry more inclusive, with a gender equality strategy, sponsorship schemes at the World Maritime University and the International Maritime Law Institute, and mentorships programs for students. And I applaud conferences such as this one, the Maritime SheEO, that highlight the achievements and the contribution of women in maritime and shine a spotlight on what women can achieve in this industry. We're also seeing a lot of organisations such as WISTA, Women's International Shipping and Trading Association, gain greater impact and presence. They've provided an incredible platform for women to network and access educational opportunities within the shipping and trade sector. In our region, PACWEMA, as I mentioned before, the Pacific Women's in Maritime Association, a regional maritime network, provides great mentoring, training and capacity building for women. And PACWEMA is just one of 7 regional women in maritime associations established under the IMO's auspices and covering Africa, Arab states, the Caribbean, Latin America and the Pacific. At AMSA, the organisation I lead, we celebrate the achievements of women and people of all diverse backgrounds in maritime and drive awareness of the issues facing women to help achieve gender equality in this male-dominated industry. Of course, it's not enough just to have women in leadership positions and a diverse hiring policy. We need to understand the value of a diverse workforce and commit to employment conditions that attract, hire and retain people from all backgrounds. We must ensure equal opportunity, employment opportunities by building safe, flexible and inclusive workplaces and investing in tangible measures aimed to reduce barriers that continue to prevent women from remaining in the workforce and from seeking and gaining promotions. Some of those challenges include cultural barriers, unconscious gender bias, gender stereotypes, inflexible working arrangements, or unsuitable facilities. And I think for ships, that's even more challenging because we know that shipping struggles just to provide a safe and equitable workplace for all seafarers. So the additional challenges there for women do need special attention. Even how we use language in the industry, seemingly small things like using gendered terms such as unmanned or seaman unintentionally suggests that women don't belong in the maritime sector. And frankly, seafarer is a much better term. It's still an uphill battle. We can do better and we must do better to raise the bar on gender diversity. And workplaces must be safe and inclusive for everyone. That's a pretty basic right and it's a pretty low bar we should be able to achieve. To do this, we must put in place initiatives and programs to promote and increase diversity in daily work practices. Examples such as flexible policies on parental leave and return to work, flexible working patterns, devoting resources to training, workshops, seminars, education for all of our people, and opportunities for women to advance. Committing to transparency by publishing diversity and inclusion targets are all things which we can do, and they're all quite manageable things for us to do. With AMSA, the organisation I lead, we invest in a range of measures to remove barriers to workplace participation and build an inclusive culture for all women. And right now we are investing further in developing a more formal gender equity action plan for the organisation. We've invested in a Women in Leadership mentoring program, and we are continuing to work hard to educate our staff on gender diversity issues and provide a truly supportive environment. We're also continuing to explore, as I said, those options for how we can establish better facilities with more flexible policies to support staff with family responsibilities, and that's be they women or men. And it's great to see more men, I guess, in the time I've been in the workforce, taking on those family responsibilities as well. For the maritime industry to grow and become more inclusive, it needs commitment to action at the top, investment in workplace cultures that support women and those of underrepresented genders, and a cultivation of target opportunities to show women that a career in maritime can be both rewarding and exciting. This could include developing mentoring, sponsorship and coaching programs, and calling out gender bias and addressing inequality in all situations that we find ourselves. In AMSA, we've kickstarted initiatives to promote those development opportunities for high-performing women and gender-diverse people, analysed the use of gendered language and made changes where possible and necessary, and revamped our recruitment processes to minimise unconscious gender bias. But I think, like all of us, we still have more to do. We've also set up a domestic and international scholarship program which focuses on developing skills for supporting young women to enter the maritime industry. And again, the long-term success is going to depend on how we get more women into that pipeline of people who are entering the industry. Through the Australia Awards program, Australia provides maritime scholarships and cadetships to improve women participation and gender equality in the transport and maritime sector through professional maritime qualifications. And this scholarship involves academic study at the Papua New Guinea Maritime College and training to provide students with academic and practical skills to develop a career in the sector. So to sum up, for women to be able to achieve their full potential in a career in maritime, the industry needs to work together to ensure that the gender challenges that are faced can be overcome. This will help provide a better future for the industry, and it's simply the right thing to do. I'd like to extend my appreciation for SheEO to inviting me to speak to this event. I have to say I did feel a bit odd as an old white man to be doing this, but as people pointed out to me, it's people like me who do need to be speaking up, so I'm really pleased to be doing so. I wish you all the success for the rest of the conference, And I look forward to listening and learning more of what needs to be done from the fantastic speakers who are lined up for how we can work together for a better, more diverse and equal maritime sector. Thank you.